Today we're talking about solar, and is it actually worth it as a home crypto miner? Today's video is sponsored by fluxpools.net, the official pool of the development team behind Flux. Fluxpools is excited to announce their miner appreciation program. Fluxpools will be giving one lucky miner on their pool $1,000 in Flux every month for the next 12 months. Guess what pool I have my Flux rig on? That's right, Fluxpool. Get this as well. Fluxpools just recently cut their parallel asset fees in half. Full details on Fluxpool's monthly $1,000 giveaway down below in the description. Thanks again to fluxpools.net for supporting the hobbyist miner community. What is going on, miners, and welcome back to the Hobbyist Miner channel. Well, today you are in for a treat because it's not just me today. We do have a special guest. Please join me in welcoming fellow content creator and crypto miner ThreeFoxCo. What's going on, man?
And good day, hobbyists. Thank you very much for having me here. It's actually quite a privilege to be on your show.
Privilege is all mine.
To all the viewers.
Privilege is all mine. So guys, today we're going to be talking about solar, and who better than someone who not only is a crypto miner and also owns solar, but has recently expanded his solar setup during this kind of bear market. So I was like, oh, I've been watching his channel for a while now, and I was like, oh, I want to get him on the channel to discuss this. So let's learn a little bit more about him and his farm setup first. Then we'll talk about his solar setup, and we'll get into some of the nitty gritty. So for your setup, your home crypto mining farm setup, what are we looking at here? What are we mining? What type of hash rate are we talking? Kind of give us the rundown, set the landscape for us.
Okay, so basically I'm still considered as quite a small crypto miner. I've just got over 1 gigahash, about 1.1 gigahash. If I just quickly look at the numbers, my power consumption is around about 3,000 watts continuous use.
Okay.
For that 1.1 kilowatts, megahash. I'm talking crap now.
That's okay. You're good. You're good. So you're running about a gigahash. No, you're running about a gigahash at about 3,000 watts, which is awesome. So what are you mining, and what type of cards are you running?
Okay, so at this stage, basically I'm running everything on Ethereum because obviously, you know, the merge is coming, the end is coming for Ethereum. It's still the most profitable coin to mine at this stage. So I'm also doing the BTC payouts. So I mine everything in Ethereum and I have it paid out in Bitcoin.
That's awesome. So you're using something like 2 miners and having their conversion take place?
That's correct, yes, 2 miners. That's what the pool that I'm using.
Awesome, awesome. So you said you're running about 3,000 watts right now for your rig. How many GPUs is that?
Okay, in total I've got 30 GPUs. So I've got a couple of rigs that consist mostly out of 1660 Supers, 1660 Ti's. Then I've got a couple of 3060 LHR version 2 GPUs. And then I've also got a couple of 6600 XTs and the non-XT versions.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I was trying to think about it. Like, as you said, all right, 3,000 watts, now 30 GPUs. And so I'm like, all right, what is he running? So it totally makes sense that you're running like some low wattage cards, which I think totally makes sense in your setup. You're going for total efficiency. I can hear it based off of the cards you're going through. You're talking about 1660s and you're talking about 3060s, which is awesome. Any AMDs in that sprinkle, or are you mostly an NVIDIA guy?
Well, mostly NVIDIA. I actually want to expand a little bit more on especially the 6600 non-XTs. And then also, you know, if I can get all of the 6700s, which now is a very popular GPU for efficiency. Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, I mean, that is now like my ultimate goal is efficiency, and again, efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, totally, which is good for you. I need to learn more from you because I need to move in that direction and get even more efficient. I still think there's a lot that I can button up. So, talking about electric here, what is your if you were to look at your electric bill today, what is your total kilowatt hours traditionally in a month usage for your home?
Okay, so currently on my farm, if I just take the amount for last month, which was actually quite a full month that I recorded, so my total load for the month was around 2,400 kilowatt hours.
Wow. Okay.
Um, so it's not that much, but it's,
No.
the dollars add up when when you get to 18 cents per kilowatt hour, what I'm currently paying.
Oh.
Um,
Oh. That's
so
painful.
that's that. We'll get into that. That was some of the motivation actually why I did the
Yeah.
expansion on my solar project.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. So, for those that don't know, by his accent or following him, he's actually based in South Africa, which I've actually never collaborated with anyone from South Africa. So I'm thrilled to get you on. So, in the United States, we'll at least kind of compare that, and then you can kind of tell us how it works. We actually have like three different layers to our electric bill: generation, transmission, and then distribution. And all three of those can have different rates. And based off of your actual state, it actually gets even more complicated. So for you, how does it kind of break down in South Africa? Is it three different tiers like that, or is it one? Is there no competitors? Like, give us the rundown to the electric struggle in South Africa.
Okay, so the the power utility is actually a government-run entity. So we've only got one power utility. And then what happens is, so the different towns, the different cities, their municipal areas will then basically buy the power from the power utility and then resell it, to the consumer. Um, then on the rates, you get your commercial rates, you get residential rates, which is then broken up into two different components. So you get like your conventional power, which means you use the power throughout the month and then you are billed at the end of the month. Or you can get the prepaid service where you actually buy your electricity in advance, and you've got a meter that you put it in, and then you just it's almost like a pay as you go system.
Got it. So which avenue do you go for that 18 cents?
So at this moment, I've got the prepaid service. So I'm actually buying the electricity upfront, and then as I use it during the month, I can actually track my usage. And if I'm coming short on a little bit for the end of the month, then I can just buy that additional. Basically, on the conventional power, there is then like it's like a service fee, they call it, for availability. So it's availability fee that you pay on top of your bill. But if you have prepaid, then it's factored into the amount that you're paying. So prepaid electricity is actually a little bit more expensive than the conventional power.
So does the prepaid roll over month to month, or do you lose it if you don't use it?
No, it roll over. So the credit that you've got, you always keep it.
Nice. So it very much reminds me of like the old cell phone style where like you're going to buy 500 minutes this month. And if you don't use it, then it rolls over to the next month. So that's actually great because it allows you to properly budget, but then also keep a close eye on, your power consumption. So now let's tie that in with your solar system, because I think that comes into play a lot here based off of what I'm hearing. So give us a rundown. What's the size of your system? How many panels? Kind of give us the rundown there.
Okay, so my system basically, before the expansion, I installed a 5.5 kilowatt solar array. So
Okay.
that consisted out of two strings of 8 panels each. Because primarily I didn't build the system for mining. I mean, I started
Yeah.
mining only, in August of last year, so I installed it before that time.
Okay.
Um, Also, as part of the challenges that we face, is that we get frequent power cuts. So the main
Oh.
motivator for me was to install the solar system with battery backup. So if we had a power cut, then actually I could stay online 24 hours, so I didn't lose availability on my electric system. So then I think it was in May I expanded my system up to 10.84 kilowatts.
Wow. Okay.
on the solar. So that brings me to a total of 30 solar panels. So on my main house structure, I've got the 16 panels, 345 watts each, and then now on my garage, I've got an additional 14 panels of 350 watts each. So that brings my total up to 10.84 kilowatts on the solar. But then obviously the solar needs to be fed somewhere. So the inverter system that I've got, initially I had a 5 kilowatt inverter installed, which at the time was sufficient for running my complete house as well as my mining operation. But as I was expanded, I ran out of capacity. So then with my solar upgrade, I actually installed an additional parallel inverter. So the two inverters are running in parallel. So now I've got 10 kilowatts of UPS backup available.
Wow. Okay.
Then obviously for the battery storage that I had to install, so initially I had 300 amp hours of battery storage, which now I've doubled to 600 amp hours. And that can give me about 4 to 5 hours of uninterrupted running, if the power utility is off.
Wow. Okay. And how often are these power cuts, would you say?
That all depends on the load on the power utility. We could have weeks, sometimes even months that we have zero power cuts, or especially like now the end of June, beginning July, there were a lot of labor strikes going on. So we had daily power cuts 3 times per day for
Wow.
5 weeks straight. So that in total, each power cut would last about 2.5 hours. So that took about 8-9 hours per day that we had no
Yeah.
power.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, yeah, just things come to mind as like a homeowner, like your refrigeration and your foods being frozen and cooled, and on top of that, your internet and and keeping that. So when the power cuts occur, this solar setup is not just for mining. This is also just to keep power up and running in your country. Does this When the power cuts occur, is your internet continuing to run? And your mining rigs continue to run, or does the internet die out on their side as well?
No, the internet stays on because I've got a wireless service that I'm using. So obviously they've also got battery backup in the radio towers they're using.
Got it. Okay, so you're running more of like a 5G, 4G, or like a WiMAX type of setup, which I don't blame you. Like with that amount of usage there. So when the power is out, you're able to continue mining. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct, yes. No, 24/7,
Awesome.
I never shut off my rigs.
That's awesome. Good for you. Good for you. So let's talk about your setup here. So how much of your solar setup takes away from your total bill every month? Does it zero it out? Is it takes out a certain percentage of it? Kind of give us that breakdown.
Okay, so in our country, we have, plenty of sunshine. So currently we're in the winter months, so I expect much lower because I'm in a winter rainfall area.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So currently during the winter time, on average, I'm getting about 50 kilowatt hours per day that I'm generating. That's now if we have a sunny day. So if we have rain or overcast, then obviously it's a little bit lower. But on average, I'm doing about 50 kilowatt hours per day. So now when the summer months are coming, so the days are much longer. We've got plenty of cloudless days, a lot of sunshine. So then I expect my daily generation, I would say in the region between 60 to 70 kilowatt hours per day. And currently, if I take into account the 50 kilowatt hours that I'm generating, I'm actually saving on my bill about $270 per month. So that's quite a huge amount that I'm saving in the winter time. So in the summer, I'm expecting much more.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. So that electric bill during your summer period, what does that usually come to for you, like per month your spend?
I'll have to quickly calculate that. So on 2,400 kilowatt hours that I'm using, if I just quickly calculate it out here,
Yeah, no rush.
and that's given on the 18 cents per kilowatt hour that I'm paying. So that's about $430 to $450 per month.
Okay.
in electricity that I'm using.
Okay.
So currently I'm cutting off that bill $270. So I would say it's about 42% that I'm offsetting at this current
Wow.
moment from my electric bill.
That's
So
fantastic.
my initial cost of 18 cents per kilowatt hour, now I'm getting down to realistically about 10 to 11 cents per kilowatt hour.
Very smart. So all of this sounds like a pipe dream. Like it's awesome. Like good for you. But there's upfront cost. Now, in actually purchasing all the solar equipment, and also the fact of the labor to install it, unless you're doing it yourself. But let's talk about that. So the big thing for people to keep in mind for you, I think, is what we talked about at the top of this, which is just the sheer factor of this is not just for mining. This is also for quality of life with power outages throughout the day and things like that. So there's a whole nother value to your solar system other than just mining. But let's talk about it. So your first setup before mining, roughly what was your upfront cost there of the first setup?
Okay, so the initial setup came up to almost 10,000 US.
Okay.
So, and basically the way that I look at it, I mean, we should ask ourselves, who is solar for? I mean, if you own the property, I would say 100%, it's an investment in your property.
Yeah.
You actually increase the value of your property. So that's why I went and I spent, that $10,000 for the initial investment on the property.
And did you install it yourself or was it installed by a team or how did that go?
Yes, basically I did the installation, the design of the installation I did myself, and that saved me tons of cash because installers doesn't come by cheap. Solar installers, it's quite a niche at this moment, so the installation cost is pretty hefty on solar equipment.
Wow, incredible. And then you then expanded more recently, actually. And what was that additional cost on top of the 10,000?
That was almost double what I've spent on the first half. So I came just a little bit short of $20,000. Again, I did the expansion and the installation myself. Also, I'm registered as a retailer at some of the supplying companies.
Wow.
So I got it. I got the equipment a little bit cheaper, so that allowed me, to still stay within my budget of 20K, because I didn't really want it to go over 20K for this installation.
Fantastic. So we're about 30K roughly, give or take, is what it sounds like there with your upfront cost. And that is something that I try to push to people a lot when we're talking about solar. It's like, yes, solar could cut your electric bill in half based off of the size and what it sounds like for you and your farm and such. But you have a $30,000 investment just to get off the ground. And then you have to think of that in regards to like, is it worth it, especially in the US, is it worth it to put that money into solar if it's not as impactful for you? And how long do you have to mine and how much do you have to mine before you actually make that back? In your situation, it's unique because it's also part of your lifestyle, like your living style, and like needing this with a lot of these power cuts. So I think like you have not only said, okay, I want it for mining, but okay, now it's also going for additional needs, which are fantastic. So let's wrap things up on recommendations. So for those that are looking to do solar as a home crypto miner, what are 3 recommendations that you have?
Well, first of all, I would say do your homework properly. There's a lot of solar equipment out there that can be, it could be a trap. You're buying into something that might not support your needs, maybe the quality of the product. So definitely do the research, make sure that you're getting quality products. Then also, like I mentioned, the situation will basically be dictated if you own the property, if you rent the property, what you actually want to do with the solar. So in my case, in the area where I live, it's definitely an investment. It adds value to my property. So if it adds value to your property, it's definitely the way to go.
Got it. Good to know there, which is great. So wrapping things up here, on that note, you got that one there. What about 2 more? You got 2 more recommendations for us?
Let me quickly think.
Put them on the spot. Bam, bam, bam. So you talked about property value, which is great. Here's one. Just kind of where do people start? Like they're interested in solar. Where do you recommend they start?
Okay, so the first thing you have to do is to see how much electricity are you actually using per month.
Okay.
And that will more or less give you an indication of what size of system you need to install. And then obviously, if you calculated the size of the system that you need, then you need to figure out if you have the available real estate, to install all the solar panels. So either you're going to install it on top of a roof or you're going to install it in open land. There's a lot of factors to consider. So your placement on your roof, that you're going to place it in relation to the sun. If you will have any shading effects from nearby trees, etc. And then also the region that you live in. If you get a lot of overcast or snow, for instance, then it might not be a viable option.
Yeah, that was something I thought about, was just the fact of like, okay, solar isn't for everyone, based off of, sunshine year round and things like that. So I think that's the big indicator there. And then finally, last thing I guess we'll ask for recommendations is there certain things to look out for on brands, on sizes of the panels, on watts of the panels? Are there like go-tos versus try not to touch these per se? What have you learned?
Okay, so a lot of countries get different manufacturers or panels of different manufacturers they are selling. I think the most popular in the US probably is like the Jinkos or the Panasonics or LGs for that matter. Okay. I would say if you go any brand name or established brand name, you cannot go wrong. Also have a look at the warranty period. If it's a panel that they only give a warranty for like 10 years, for instance, then it might not be worth buying those, because the lifespan of a solar panel is in excess of 20 years. So if you get a good warranty on the solar panels, then obviously the product is better. And also look for certifications. See if it's manufactured in according to like IEC standards, for instance. So then there is a certain degree of quality control that was implemented with the manufacturing of the equipment.
Got it. Good to know. Well, awesome. Well, this has been super informational for me. We're about 20 minutes in right now, and I am far more knowledgeable now than when I was previously, which is fantastic. So here's what we're going to do, guys. I'm going to leave links down below to his channel, to some of his videos. I'm also going to leave links down to a few other people that come to mind. Chump Change XD does a lot of his own solar stuff at home. He's been really on to that more recently, as well as someone like Seb Heslow, who's done a lot of calculations on profitability with solar and how profitable it would be. So I'll put links down to those videos below. So if you want to continue your research into solar as a home crypto miner, you can go that route and kind of go down the rabbit hole of these three channels, of these guys' channels, as they have tons of content related to solar. Where can people find you though? Let's go ahead and promote some of your content and location. So social, YouTube, give it to us, throw it out there.
Okay, yeah, so the most obvious one is YouTube. So I've still got a fairly new channel. So YouTube, you can just look for ThreeFoxCo. Then also I've got a blog where I actually just published my videos, which is ThreeFoxCo.com. And I'm also quite active on Twitter. So you will also find me on Twitter as ThreeFoxCo.
Fantastic. Guys, I'll leave links down to all of those as well down below. So please go over, check them out, follow, subscribe, and ask a lot of questions over there. Feel free, he is very active within the crypto mining scene, so that would be great. Well, guys, if you guys enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And finally, don't forget to subscribe. Take care.